This video will cover Chapter 5 Corridor Modeling of Road 1 Open Roads Designer, and this is the individual exercise 5.10, creating a corridor for Route 54. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hold the control key and go down to the exercise in the Word document. First up, it says to do is create a corridor for Route 54. So we just went through creating a ramp for. Now we're going to do Route 54. It'll be sort of similar. Some other things that we'll talk about as we go along. In this corridor's Route 54, we're going to use the 2D seed file again. We will let's see, we'll attach a coordinate system again, and we'll go from there. So let's go over to the microstation, and we'll do a file new. And it defaults to my MoDOT design seed file, the 2D one. I want to copy this name, so we're going to call it corridors underscore route dash 54 underscore J5P 3181.dgn. Copy it, and I'm going to paste it into my dialog for my new file. I'll hit OK and let it process. It's creating a brand new blank file in the background with all the MoDOT settings that come along with a new file. In this file, we're going to do the same as we did in Ramp 4. We're going to connect our civil geometry and our terrain in here through the reference dialog, and then we'll build our corridor, which will be the main line for Route 54. And eventually the check-in dialog will come up for ProjectWise. We'll check in our changes for Ramp 4, which we already did a update server copy, but we'll check it in again anyway. So here's our blank file. It's ready to go. First thing we want to do is open up a coordinate system tool, and we'll attach it by library. Again, we're going to use that modified geographic coordinate system, NAD83-/2011. We're looking for that CD Miller 2011 option for Central Zone. So let's do that. So we got to change our workflow. Change it from open roads modeling to reality modeling. And go to the coordinate system icon off on the right. Now with this tool open, we're going to go to From Library and select it. And I'm going to close that first option and open up, well, I'm opening up my window a little more so I can see it. But I'm looking for this NAD83-2011 modified geographic coordinate system. So I'll open that up. And then we're looking for the Miller, CD Miller. Once we have it, we hit the OK button. Our dialog's populated. We're good to go. We can close that. So that was steps 1, 2, and 3 of step 4. Step 5 says verify it. We did verify it. It populated it. We're good to go. Now what we want to do is we want to reference in the following files. We want to see our terrain file. We want our civil geometry file. And we want our corridors for Ramp 4. So let's go back over to MicroStation. Change our workflow. Open Roads Modeling. And we'll go to the Home tab. We used the corridors last time. We need to go to the Home tab. We'll hit the References dialog. Bring it up. Do a Tools. Attach. Making sure we're in that data 5, we're going to bring across that terrain, corridors Ramp 4, and our civil geometry. So we'll add those in. Select the OK button, and we'll say OK with the work set. Again, we want to use a nested depth of 0 for all these. So we'll hit OK. OK. OK, going with all the defaults. To a fit view. I'll close the reference dialog, and you can see we now have our civil geometry, our terrain, and you'll see that we also have ramp 4. You can see the limits of construction line out here and some pavement lines. Okay, I'll tab over. Wants us to make that terrain model active, and that's a very important step, as we showed in the previous video. So I'll hit the F4 key, find a piece of that terrain somewhere, select it, and then set as active terrain. By hovering over it, get my heads-up display. I get these options. Select it. And now again, when we place our alignment, our corridor out here on this alignment for Route 54, which is a rather large alignment out here, our templates that we use in our corridor will now be able to seek ground with the in conditions. So the pavement will be placed, shoulders will be placed, and then the in conditions, whether it be a fill slope, back slope to a ditch or whatnot, can now solve if that terrain is active. Next thing we want to do is we want, step 8, we want to go to the corridors tab and open up our create template dialog. And then we want to navigate to the project directory and select our job ITL. Okay, now we just did ramp 4, so we should be able to go to our corridors tab, and then the create template icon brings up our template library. And since we just used that job one, it's went to it. But I'm going to verify by doing file open, making sure I have the ITL, which I do, the correct one. Okay, so we have a ramp 4 from before. I'm going to close that up and go back to the instructions. If you didn't have that ITL, you'd want to go out and grab that, and it'll be in your job data 5 folder. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new folder, and we're going to call it Route 54. So we have one as ramp 4. Let's go over to our create template, and where you want to do this is right over the job folder. Is just select it and then right click, do a new folder, and it comes up with new category. We want to call this one Route space 54. Hit the enter key, and now we have a brand new folder that's been created. It's empty, there's nothing in it, but we have a new folder for this part of the job. We want to expand our templates to concrete pavement with shoulders folder. So let's move this over and do a templates concrete pavement with shoulders. So you can see templates over here in this folder. Concrete pavement with shoulders. There's the folder for that. We'll open that up. You can see there's a lot of other options. We want to expand the A2 shoulders ag base folder. A2 shoulders ag base, very first folder. So we'll open that up, and you can see there's a few options in here. Open this up even more so we can read them. And we are looking for the concrete pavement 4 lane divided with ag base option 3 template. So we're going to select that and copy it and then paste it into our Route 54. So how this works is we're looking for this concrete pavement 4 lane divided with ag base option 3. So we'll select it. You get a preview of it. We're not making it active by double clicking. We're just one single click. Then we're going to right click on it. I want to say copy. We want to copy that template. Do not try to drag this into that folder. If you do that, you've moved this template from this location into that location. Then you won't have this template in this library anymore in this location. So we'll go to Route 54, select it, right click, and then just do a simple paste. Now I'm going to open up the Route 54, and you can see now we have a copy of that MoDOT template library, MoDOT template drop. So do a tab. We want to rename this by adding Route 54 into the beginning of the name. So that's something easy we can do. So we'll right click on our newly dropped in copied template, right click and do a rename. You just get to the beginning of it and type in Route 54. And a space, and then hit the enter key. Okay. Now we're going to test that template, make sure it works, and then when we get done testing it, we'll save our changes. Okay, so let's double click. It's not active right now. I'm looking at a ramp 4, so it's important to double click on this one to make it our active. Okay, you can see it out here. I'll turn on to display point names. You can see what we've got here. Divided highway situation using shoulders. Got a fill slope where need be. Got a ditch on each side. So let's test it. Come out to test. And you'll see we have one surface to test. We'll zoom out a little bit. And we're going to use a 0% surface slope. So when I hit draw, this line that comes out here, this white line that's by my cursor, that is our surface. And then right now it's set to 0%. So you're going to see straight across the alignment, or the template. So you can see the ditches are solving. But if we go below the ditches, you'll see also that our fill slopes are solving. Above that, we've got our ditches. Below the ditches, our fill slopes are working. You could change this. You could come in here and change this to like a 2%. And then when you hit draw, now you can see you're at a 2%. And you can see how that affects. So in one area you might have a ditch on the right and your fill slope's working on the left. So if you wanted to change that surface slope, it's really easy to do. You can put a negative in front of it as well. When you enter it in, it doesn't do anything. You have to hit draw again. And draw changes that to the other slope. And it'll stay at that until you change it again. So I'm going to put it 0, hit draw, and I'm back to my surface the way I want it. So template looks like it solves and works perfect. We're going to close it. Looks great. So you've seen the end conditions going out. They're hitting the surface. They're gonna solve. So I believe we're gonna close. Let's see. Alt tab. Tested it. We're gonna save it. Yes. So I'll close here. Do I want to save my changes? I sure do. I'll say yes. And then it goes away. So we've got the template library loaded up, and now we're good to place a corridor out here for Route 54. Okay, so that is from the Corridors tab. We can use the Open Roads Modeling workflow. Select a new corridor. Or you can do it from the heads-up display off the alignment. I'll go ahead and do it as it's said in the manual here. So I'm at the Corridors tab. I want to go to New Corridor. It's asking me to locate the baseline. Going to be 54. If you hover over it, you see you have a Route 54 proposed profile out there, so we're good. And then once you select it, it says locate the profile, which if you had a profile window open with a profile in it, you could select that profile or reset for active profile. And again, I just hovered over it and you can see that there's an active profile. So all I need to do is just right click in a blank area and it's going to use that active profile. The name of this, we're going to call this, I believe, is Route 54. Yes. Route 54, and that's step 21. And then we're going to accept it, and then we're going to get to our creating a template. So let's go back here. We'll accept Route 54. It places that green shape around it, and that represents our corridor. And it wants to know what template drop do we want to use. And you can see right now it's got a heads up of displayed. It's going to our ramp 4 pavement with shoulders. Well, we don't want to use that for this alignment. So what we'll do is we'll Alt Tab over and follow our directions. And it says that we want to select that pavement 4 lane that we copied in. We're going to data point to accept that choice of template. So let's go over here. We're going to do the Alt down keys. Brings up our dialog, our pick template dialog. I'm going to close ramp 4, open up Route 54, and select that Route 54 pavement 4 lane with divided ag base option 3. Once it's, you can see a preview of it, and you can open this up. You can slide this around so you can see stuff. Once you've got it, you see what we're wanting to place in there. Hit OK. And then we'll go out to our, again, it's on our cursor now. All we have to do is accept it. and it wants to know start and stop stations. So let's alt tab over and see where we're at on that. We want to use the start station beginning stationing, so we'll use the alt key to lock it at the beginning, and the end we're going to lock it into the end as well. And then when we get to the interval part, we're going to give it a 25. So let's go start station. So we're at our start station right now. If I hit the alt key on my keyboard, it locks it in. All I have to do is left click to start it, and now it wants to know the stop. And if I hit the alt key again, it goes to the end, and then all I have to do is accept it in the blank area one more time. So that we're going the whole length of this project right here. Now it wants to know the drop interval. Now for that ramp 4 or 5 was a pretty good number because it was a smaller alignment that we were dealing with. Now this Route 54 is a much larger one and will take a long time to process. So in the instructions, I believe it says we're going to use 25. Yes, 25 is what we're going to use. So we'll come back over here, we'll key in 25, hit the enter key, and then all we have to do is accept that value. It's going to process. It takes a little bit longer to process, as you've seen. And then now we have 25-foot drops between each template. Again, you got to consider that some places you're going to have closer template drops. These green lines represent a template drop. Wherever there's a template drop, you got a green line. Some are closer, and the reason it is because there's cardinal points out there are PC, PT, PI, vertical points. Any of those points that are out there that are critical, they go ahead and place them in here. Now when you cut cross sections later, you don't have to use the critical points. You could just place even stationing, but for better interpolation, they go ahead and place them at that point in time. Okay. Close the template drop tool is what we need to do, and then let's do that. So we're out of it, we closed it. Next part of it is to select the corridor properties pop-up and select the different design stages. Okay, so here's how this works again. This is a corridor. The corridor's end is green lines on the outside represent the corridor. If I hover over them, you see how the corridor turns a highlighted color. What you could do is you could select that by left clicking on it, and you'll get this heads up display. In here, that first one, we have properties. Now if I select properties, it gives us our feature name, it gives us the name, profile names here, you can see all that, that's good. This is the important part, this feature definition. What once was called design stages is now called feature definition. Now, right now, I had it set up to preliminary, so it's going to drop them every 5 times 5. But, and when I do times 5, it's 5 times that 25. So that's what we're doing there. So every 125 foot is a template drop because of this. Now if I change it to 1, which I'll do right now, it's going to be that 25 times 1. And you'll see this tighten up, and you see a lot closer template drops in here. Now the lines are closer, these green ones that you see in here. So now it's taking a 25 times 1, so every 25 feet, except for where you have a critical point, it's going to place another one. So there's some points in here that we've got added stationing. But wherever it's straight and flat, you're going to get 25-foot increments on your template drops. I'll put it back at preliminary. Preliminary is designed to use while you're setting the project up and going through a lot of the setup. So it runs a lot smoother and a lot quicker on some of these larger projects. Okay. Next thing we want to do is we're going to open up our 3D window and see the model, the 3D model, and do some rotation stuff to it. So go back to MicroStation. It doesn't matter where you're at in here. I'm going to hit the F6 key. And when you do, it creates this 3D model on the right side, and you can see your project. Okay, you can see your divided highway out there. And again, if you go into that 3D window, the view 2, and you make it active, we've got these view rotation tools out here that we can rotate it around and look at it. So if I want to look at maybe one of the ends of this and see what's going on, I can come out here, select this view rotation, and you'll get this crosshair. As long as you're at dynamic, you'll get this crosshair. This is important. You take this crosshair, you left click on it, and you hold it, and you can move it anywhere. And when you hover over your project, you'll see you're going to get a yellow X. That's the AccuSnap that it's finding out there, and we want to snap to a point in that 3D window. When you do, now you're using that point as a pivot point, so you can go off into a blank area, left click, and rotate your mouse as you're holding it down. Move it around, and you can see how you can change the 3D view of that window. And you're also noticing it's pivoting about that point where I set it. I can zoom in, move it around however I want. See my pavement depths in there. I can see that ditch. Pretty smooth tool. This is the biggest thing. If you want to rotate that 3D window, this is the biggest thing to get to understand is that crosshair. So if I do a fit view out here, and then I take my crosshair again by selecting view rotation and move it to another point. Rotate it around. And then you can also use your middle mouse wheel and click on it and hold it down, and you'll get the pan tool now. So that's set up. Again, that pivot point's important. You can rotate that around, and that's that crosshair. Okay, the next thing we want to do in here is we're going to open up a 3D. We did that. We're going to set up our dynamic cross sections. We're going to do that. So a couple ways of doing this. It says from the corridor ribbon, select a pull down called dynamic sections. Select open cross section view, and then we can. It's also available on the context sensitive pop-up menu, which that's what I like to use a lot. But we'll do it by the icon this time. When prompted to locate the corridor alignment, we want to identify Route 54 corridor by selecting the handle on the corridor. Now it says here it could be 35 or 36, either way. And then when prompted to select a view, we're going to open up a view 8 and data point in the view. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to right click or F4, select this view 1 default window, and then I'm going to go to corridors, and I'm going to go to my dynamic sections and open up a cross section window. So it tells me to locate the corridor or alignment. I'm going to pick the corridor out there that I've just placed at 54. And now it wants to know, select an open window. So I'm going to hit that window 8, and my cursor still says select or open the view. I open the view, now I'm going to select in it. It's going to process. And you can see now we have our alignment out here. Okay, again, it starts at the very beginning, which on the stationing is 602 plus 59.49. Since super elevation will be changing the slopes, having feedback to the slope at each station is useful. The next step, describe how to place a dimension line from the edge of pavement to the center line on each side of the roadway. So what we want to do is right click and hold for 1 second in the middle of the cross section model. This will bring up our tools. And then we want to pick, what is it saying? This will bring up the temporary dimension options. Select a cross section view. Okay, I don't know what this means. This is something that probably needs to be changed. So we're going to open up in that window, right click and hold, and place horizontal lines. And we wanted to label our pavement, I believe. Let's go check it out. We are going to place horizontal start prompt, center of the roadway, data point to accept. Let's see. Yeah, that's all we're going to do here. So, and then we're going to identify the EOP. Okay. So we'll come out here, do a fit view in here. And we'll right click and hold, place horizontal temporary line. And you can see when you go to place these dimensions out here, it's going to stop everywhere there's a point in the template, a horizontal point. Okay, so we're going to come out here, we're going to pick this left side. And all you do is once you get over that edge of pavement, you left click. Now it wants to know where you want to go from there. I'm going to go all the way to the other side of the pavement and left click. Now it wants to know your dimension height, so you can place that anywhere. And I'll do the same thing for the other side. Click once, twice, and try to get it close to the other one. And place it there. You could do any horizontal dimension that you want. If you wanted to know from center line out to there, you could do that. Or if you want to go from here to there, to there, yeah, that's pretty close. And when you're finished, you could just simply F4. You can also do vertical ones. So if you right click and hold for a second, you get place vertical dimension lines. So maybe you wanted to know what the depth of your ditch was. You can click on it, click on your pavement point, and then come out in an area wherever you want to see your dimension, and you can place it. And once they keep going, you right click, you're finished. So you can get vertical dimensions now, which is brand new. And the slick thing about these dimensions is, as we travel using these buttons up here to each station, the next station, you could see that the dimensions go with that. Now if it starts jumping around a lot in different areas, you could set this option over in view properties to center on current offsets, and they will stay. So you can get it to a point where you like it, and you select center on current offsets, just use that pull down. And now when you start navigating through, you'll see that the alignment stays and everything else is rotated around it. Pretty cool. Now if you needed more, maybe you had a dimension out here you want to see this endpoint, then you would center on current offsets this way. Okay, it's on. Now if I bump it, you can see that it's changing. It's centered on that offset. Okay. Did that. So basically we're at the end of this, but one more thing. To get rid of these dimension lines, you just simply right click in a blank area and then you remove all temporary dimensions. And they're gone. Just like so. Another thing about these windows is that if you hold the shift key and you zoom or the control key, you can see we're exaggerating the project in here. Our verticals get exaggerated. So that's an option that you could do using your wheel and your shift or your control keys. And that, let me see, I think we just got one more step. Compress, save settings in the design file. And it's all the stuff's stored in the microstation data. So, to compress, you can go out to the file pull down, go to tools, and choose compress file. Now when it does that, it gets rid of our 3D window. So when it's done compressing, it'll be up. So if you wanted that 3D window, you'd have to hit F6 again, and it'll bring it up. But when you compress, it cleans up all that stuff. And this sometimes is a problem. But hit fit views and you get right back into it. Last part is saving. So we'd save our project and then update the server copy so that project-wise is updated with the latest and greatest. And that concludes chapter